Are your viewers dropping off before the video even really begins? You know the feeling. You pour hours into research, scripting, and editing, only to check your analytics and bam, a massive, heartbreaking cliff dive in retention right there in the first 10 seconds. It's incredibly frustrating to lose an audience before you've even made your point. But good news, it's entirely fixable.
Okay, let's dive into this. Today's explainer is breaking down the core concepts from the blueprint for high retention scripts. We're looking at a literal masterclass on how to take any basic raw input and completely transform it into a captivating, faceless script that just glues eyes to the screen. If you've ever wondered how the most engaging creators keep you watching, well, this source material is the exact roadmap.
To get there, we'll follow a very specific path today. First, cracking the retention code. Second, the 6-part script structure. Third, mastering style and tone. And finally, subtle monetization and action.
So, Section 1, cracking the retention code and the ultimate goal of your script.
The mandate here is honestly profoundly simple, but incredibly difficult to execute. The strategy explicitly states your goal is twofold. You absolutely must make people watch until the very end, and you have to leave them feeling motivated to act, right? It's not just about passively sharing information. It's about actively architecting a psychological experience that simply refuses to let the viewer leave. Literally everything else we're going to talk about today serves this one singular goal.
So how do we actually kickstart that experience? Well, by ruthlessly cutting the fluff. The blueprint demands a strong hook, and by that it means an immediate attention grabber that completely skips the pleasantries, saying things like, "Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel." Look, that is dead space. Greetings waste precious seconds, and worse, they give your viewer a reason to click away. You've got to hit them right between the eyes with the core value or the problem the exact millisecond they press play, kind of like we did at the start of this explainer.
Moving into Section 2, the 6-part script structure, building the foundation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact chronological flow that actively prevents viewers from losing interest. It relies on a pretty rigid 6-part formula. First, the hook, to instantly grab them. Then, the problem, right, so they deeply feel that pain point. Next comes the promise, basically assuring them a real solution is on the way. From there, you deliver the actual steps to solve it. That's the real meat of your content. After the steps, you drop a unique insight, that sudden aha moment or perspective shift they definitely didn't see coming. And finally, you wrap the whole shebang up with a clear call to action, or CTA. It's a carefully mapped journey, leading the viewer exactly where you need them to go.
But here's the thing, it's not just about checking off those 6 boxes. It's about how you connect them. The framework specifically highlights this phrase, but here's the catch. This is a prime example of an open loop, or like a mini cliffhanger. You are deliberately dropping these tiny hooks right when a viewer might typically get bored between sections. By teasing that there's a catch, or a secret, or some unexpected twist coming up, you create this psychological itch that they literally have to scratch by continuing to watch.
Think about it like this. Standard, boring transitions signal to the brain that a thought is completely finished, and that subconsciously gives the viewer permission to just leave. But open loops and cliffhangers intentionally deny that closure. They basically force the viewer to keep paying attention because the thought or the story is deliberately left hanging unresolved until the exact moment your next section begins. All right, Section 3, mastering style and tone. Let's talk formatting for faceless videos. Because even if you have the absolute perfect structural foundation, keeping that audio momentum going requires some pretty strict formatting. You have to use simple, fast-paced sentences. There is just zero room for long, winding prose here. The text needs to be broken into clean paragraphs, and the blueprint actually instructs you to avoid using timestamps entirely. Ultimately, the script has to be perfectly ready for a voiceover artist to just pick up and read naturally. This formatting isn't just to make the page look pretty, it guarantees a crisp, rhythmic audio delivery that keeps the viewer's momentum pushing forward from start to finish. So the crucial point is how this script actually sounds and feels to the listener. And the guidance here is adamant. The tone must be engaging and encouraging. You really want to empower your viewer, make them feel capable. But, and this is a massive but, it strictly forbids any get-rich-quick hype. None. The second you cross that line into spammy, overly hyped territory, you completely destroy the trust you've just carefully built. And your viewer retention, that will instantly plummet.
Which brings us to Section 4, subtle monetization and action, turning that retention into actual revenue.
Look, achieving high retention is fantastic, obviously, but turning that attention into revenue without totally disrupting the viewer's experience,
That's the true ultimate goal of a faceless script. You need to subtly weave monetization angles directly into the fabric of the content itself. This should never, ever feel like a jarring commercial break. Instead, you just naturally mention recommended tools that help solve the exact problem you're already discussing. Or you present new ideas and highlight specific opportunities. By doing this subtly, the monetization feels like highly valuable, relevant advice rather than some desperate sales pitch. It keeps the viewer locked in and trusting your guidance.
So, let's recap. We've covered the psychology of the zero-fluff hook, that rigorous 6-part framework, the fast-paced formatting, and the subtle art of weaving in monetization. Literally everything in this source blueprint is meticulously designed to build a script that viewers simply cannot look away from. Which leaves us with one final absolutely essential question to ask yourself. How will you apply this 6-part structure to your next faceless script? The blueprint is right here in your hands. Now it's up to you to write it.